the force.
And, yeah, well done to them. However, notwithstanding that, I mean, if we talk about your arrest in February...
Yes.
In Aberdeen...
Yes.
It does seem quite extraordinary, doesn't it? What happened to you? You went up there to start campaigning.
Yes.
And you had organised to have some interviews with the media.
Yes.
And some...
Just to meet the people.
People.
Yes, I'd never been to Aberdeen before, ever. It sounds curious, I'm so involved in it. But at that time, I'd never been to Aberdeen, so nobody would really know who I was. Okay. And I just before that time, decided to stand in order to try and get the story into the open. I thought,
but you hadn't actually gone through the process of applying to stand, because the election hadn't been
No, it hadn't
declared,
been called then,
so
but we knew there had to be one this year, obviously. We knew there was going to be a general election by June at the latest, so I'd made my plans to put myself forward at that time. And the reason for me being in Aberdeen on the 12th of February, on the main street, Union Street, was actually to meet as many people as possible in Aberdeen, to introduce myself, and also to give the details of the case which I wanted to bring into the public domain, which had been suppressed.
Which is the Hollie Greig case.
Exactly, exactly. And what happened was, because lots of people knew I was going to be there, I was going to meet them at 10:30. 10 o'clock in the morning on a street just off Union Street, I was suddenly accosted by two CID officers who said they had a warrant for my arrest.
So they knew who you were?
Oh, yes.
How did they know who you were?
I don't know. I was just walking along the street. They may have seen pictures on me because a lot of things have been on the YouTube, and they probably, I'm sure that they didn't need to be too smart to know what I looked like, really.
OK, so you were arrested and thrown into a cell.
Yes, for over the weekend in solitary, yes.
And so they can keep you a certain number of days without charging you?
Yes, yes. As it happened, it turned out to be Friday, and they were within their rights to hold me over the weekend because Monday was the first day in which the courts reopened in which I could be charged.
OK, so what were you charged with?
Breach of the peace.
Were you breaching the peace?
No.
What were you doing? Were you walking around with a loud hailer?
No, I was walking along with my bag, and the only other thing I had was just a little pole that was just about that long, in which I was just going to put something to identify myself, something to do with, I think, with Hollie Greig.
At the time you were arrested, it was just a stick?
That's right, that's right.
So you had a stick and a bag?
That's right.
And they didn't arrest you for carrying a weapon, and they didn't say that the stick was a weapon?
Nothing whatsoever,
So you were breaching the peace?
Yes.
Silently?
Yes.
By yourself?
Yes.
So it wasn't even riotous association?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It's a curious thing in Aberdeen. It seemed that multiple rape of children and probable murder doesn't really count too highly there. But
because there's no corroborating evidence.
Walking along the street peacefully is regarded as a serious crime there.
It is topsy-turvy, isn't it?
It is a topsy-turvy world, yes.
So they kept you in prison for a while?
Yes,
yes. Not in prison.
Well, in police custody.
In police custody for a while. And then you went to court?
Yes.
And then what happened in the court?
Well, in the court, it was close court. It was in camera, by the way.
They didn't, by the way, I think it's important to say that they didn't put you in the logical court.
No.
Where people who knew you might know what you were going to be.
I was taken down the coast to Stonehaven, not to Aberdeen.
30 miles away.
The court in Aberdeen is right next to the police station. They adjoin each other.
But
they took me down the coast.
They didn't want any publicity.
No.
So they took you to Stonehaven, and you were and you went before the magistrate.
Before the sheriff there, yes.
The sheriff.
Yes, as they call him in Scotland, yes.
Okay. Was this the sheriff that?
No, it wasn't.
It was a different.
It was a different sheriff. Yes.
And good for that. Okay. So and then what happened? You were found guilty?
No. I was allowed it on bail with certain conditions. Generally, I think it's important to say that under the Scottish legal system, generally speaking, the conditions do not apply south of the border.
So, well, of course, Scottish law is different from English law.
Yes, it is.
So there are bail conditions in Scotland,
yes.
And those bail conditions are?
The bail conditions, there's quite a lot of them. I shouldn't contact, amongst them are I shouldn't contact any of the people that I've named. Which is fair enough, and I have to report 3 times a week at my local police station in Warrington. 3 times a week, which seems an awful lot for a breach. Okay,
and what about something that kept you away from Aberdeen?
Oh yes, I'm not allowed to enter Aberdeen or Aberdeenshire, and that exists at the moment. And as you rightly say, I'm the only parliamentary candidate who is actually barred from entering the constituency which he seeks to represent. I think that is an attack on democracy. Quite apart from the merits of Hollie's case, that is a democracy where a particular party, and in this case the Scottish Nationalist Party, have done everything to prevent me from from actually bringing this case to the public attention in a supposedly democratic election.
Okay, I'm gonna read out some text. I did say I would. Why is Hollie being allowed to listen to the description of her uncle's alleged murder? It must be disturbing for her. Do you want to answer that, Anne?
Well, ask Hollie.
Hollie, someone is asking why you're being allowed to listen to the description of your uncle's alleged murder. It must be disturbing for you. How do you feel about it? I did ask you this before we came on the show, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
And what did you say?
Don't do something to her again. I'll kill you.
Yeah, that's what your Uncle Roy said, yeah, I know.
But you did want to be on the show, didn't you? And you knew what we were going to be talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Hollie.
Did you want to sit at the side of the show, or did you want to sit on the show?
I'll stay on, so
And why did you want to stay on the show?
I want to fight.
She wants to fight.
She wants to fight. Well, good for you. Good for you, Hollie. Crucial. Somebody, here we go. Denise in Cambridgeshire says, didn't the fire brigade mention what accelerant was used to set fire to the car?
They said it was a catalytic converter.
A catalytic converter? That's a piece of metal underneath the car.
Mm-hmm. They said it went on fire.
They said that was on fire. So that,
You tell me, I don't know.
that's very strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody's saying, were there any church connections? Presumably to the abuse of Hollie, I would imagine.
We have recently become aware, and I do say very recently. I wouldn't want to talk about it at this time, but only over the last few days have we become aware that we believe many of the perpetrators attended a particular church in Aberdeen.
Okay.
But it's very early days. I wouldn't want to say too much on that because it would be unfair. But this is what we've just learned.
Okay, I suppose there is a lot of connection between paedophilia and certain church anyway,
Yes,
isn't there, at the moment?
it isn't the same church.
No,
I have to
it's
say.
a
I think in
different-
fairness,
it's a different
Okay.
in fairness to...
Somebody else says here, sir, you can't handle this on your own. Presumably that's to you, Robert. The British National Party has pledged to convict paedophiles. We need you and your people for Hollie's sake. But of course you're not standing as a member of the British National Party.
No. I think the important thing that I would like to point out as well is this is really not, strictly speaking, non-political. It is something that appalls people of all views, all races, all religions, whether you're left, right, centre. Abuse of children sickens everyone.
Yes.
And that is that base I stand by. I'm really not terribly interested in people's other political beliefs as long as they support me in trying to bring to justice and end these terrible crimes.
Okay. Barry in Cumbernauld says, scumbags. I don't think he's talking about you.
Well, hopefully not.
He's saying, Hollie and Anne are so brave and you have recruits to your army. Where do I sign up? This is Hollie's army. Is it justiceforhollie.org?
Yes.
Oh,
no,
Hollie demands justice.
Yeah, Hollie
Hollie
demands justice.
Yes.
HollieDemandsJustice.org.
Yes.
So that's where you sign up for Hollie's army.
Yes.
Oh, and I think it might be going on screen. There it is.
Okay. Actually, one thing, Theo, if I may, just before you say anything else, just to finish off about my standing, I have to say everything was done to stop me, including my latest arrest, to prevent me from actually physically being able to stand, but I was only able to stand because of some brave, loyal Scots who have worked tremendously hard to get the